So lastly this morning, I'm going to fly another of my main loves, the Hobbyzone Conscendo. This is the original Conscendo, not the, well, two respects it's the original Conscendo. It's the original Conscendo, not the new one. With they now have, I forget what they call it, but they now have an upgraded version that's more like a hotliner with a 3-cell ESC and motor and some additional carbon fiber reinforcement. So you can throw it around more. Alright, let's see if we can get this guy in the air. A little bit of wind now, just climbing him. Level him and cut the power. I treat him basically as a glider. I'm not mainly flying him as a hotliner. So as I was saying, this is the original version with the 2-cell power and without the additional reinforcement. I forget what they call the new one now. The new one has a blue pattern, and it's, as I say, it's more powerful and stronger. Same airframe, exactly the same size and everything, because it's the same mold for the foam and everything. Standing still there because we're coming into the wind. This is also the original in the sense that it's my original. It's the one that I lost at the beginning of the season. Was that last year or the year before? It went down in that hedge over there, but I didn't know that because I took it off in the morning and it was mistier than I thought, and it just disappeared in the mist. So as soon as it disappeared, I cut the power and put the sticks hard over to try and put it into a spiral, a turn. But I never saw it again. But I figured since I'd put it into a spiral, it wouldn't have gone that far away. And there was a lot more growth in that field over there at that time, I think. So I put a camera on the apprentice and flew the apprentice all over the field, all over the area there, looking for it. Took video. Not in real time, I just recorded video, and then I took it home and looked at it on the computer, blew it up, tried to enhance it. And it wasn't easy to see. It wasn't easy to see, but I saw a white blob in the hedgerow to the right there, beyond the hill, so you wouldn't be able to see it from the flight line here. And so one day, about 3 days after I'd lost the thing, I went out there to look for it, and sure enough, it was stuck up there like a cross, vertically stuck up in the hedgerow. And it wasn't damaged. The battery, of course, was totally flat and pretty much a write-off, but otherwise, and it had some snails crawling on it, and some of the glue had turned kind of brown, which it still is. But that was the story of it. Now, I was so upset about losing it that in the 3 days between when I lost it and found it again, I bought another. Because they discontinued them at that point. They weren't available for order from Horizon or whatever. It was a discontinued item, and I wanted to make sure I had one. So I found one on sale at a reasonable price. So I'm taking him fairly high here on purpose. Okay, that's probably good enough. And so I bought another one, so I have 2 of them now, actually. But I'm not sorry about that. It's a great little plane. I could sell one of them, but I'm not terribly anxious to do so because it's such a nice plane. If I ever broke or lost, and mind you, there's not really much reason why you should break it, really. It's especially not this version, it's a glider, you're gliding it, I'm gliding it mostly. I mean, you can loop it and things, I don't think I'm going to bother now. I can, definitely, absolutely, I can loop it and whatever. Even this version, the 2-cell version's got enough power that it'll loop and that. But I didn't put the camera on this. I often do put a camera on, but I've not got a camera on it now. It takes nice pictures. It's a nice thing for mounting a camera on, actually. I should have put the camera on it, maybe. Although I don't know if there's enough power left in that little E-flite camera now, because I already had it up on the Sport Cub. But I've had him up with cameras on, and he because he's a nice stable platform and he stays up there for a long while, he takes nice pictures. especially if you're flying. I mean, round here I'm pretty familiar with this field, so I'm not going to see anything very new around this field. It's nice and all that, but if you're flying somewhere a little different and you want to take some pictures of the landscape, especially if you're flying somewhere with a nice landscape, you know, with something really attractive in the way of a landscape, this is a great guy for taking aerial pictures because he's very stable and you know, and you can shut the motor down so there's no motor vibration or noise, and he'll just glide like this. Is all, you know, this is all just gliding with no motor, except when I'm climbing. When I'm climbing, I'm putting the motor on, but otherwise I'm just gliding him. That's the way I treat him. Now I imagine that's not the way a lot of people treat it, and especially not the new version. That's why they went to the Hotliner. He looks like a Hotliner, it must be said, and Hotliners, of course, can shoot around really quick, but then they need to be somewhat strong. He does look like a Hotliner. In the new version, I think you could fairly say is a Hotliner, and I expect gets flown that way more. Really, if you're going to fly it as I'm flying it basically as a glider, you don't need the new version. This version has plenty of power to climb it out as a glider. And time-wise, it's, you know, power-wise, time-wise, it's fine. I've flown this guy. I've had this guy in the air for over half an hour on a battery sometimes, because you're not using the battery very much, especially if you can catch a bit of something to keep up in the air or climb. As I say, I've had him up in the air. I've had him up in the air, close past there. I've had him up in the air for over half an hour on what? On the 2-cell battery. Now that's battery time, you know, that's time running the battery. I don't think I'd want to run it that much, because you are still using some power when you're flying it even without the battery, of course. So I've got the timer set to 6 minutes, so that means I've used 1 minute of battery power so far. I wouldn't really want to use the full 6 minutes of battery power. You might flatten the battery a little too much like that. Cut the motor. Problem is I'm too far over. I'm already too far upwind now. God, bugs are crawling over me. One thing is I can take my hand to swat them with this guy because he's stable enough that I don't need to be absolutely on the sticks all the time with him. Lovely morning at the moment. Little humid though, and the bugs are around. Now the bug situation might get better later on. The humidity and heat situation, however, will indubitably get worse later on. It's, you know, by the time you get to the afternoons, it just gets, at the moment it's still, yesterday afternoon it was what, I don't know, 30-ish, feeling like high 30s with the humidity. Not pleasant at all. I'd rather be inside with the air conditioning in those conditions. I don't much want to be out flying when it's like that. But at the moment, you know, it's, I don't know, mid-20s I would guess by now, with the sun coming up, but with a bit of a breeze, which is nice from a comfort point of view. Not so good if you're flying for this guy. I mean, this guy's actually better with a little bit of breeze. If you're flying some tiny little plane or helicopter that really can't tolerate breeze, you know, it's better to come out when there is none. But in terms of personal comfort, it's more comfortable when there is a bit of a breeze. So I'm enjoying it now. His propeller's folded there. It's nice having the folding propeller on a glider. It certainly helps, because if you don't, obviously the propeller's, you know, with a fixed pitch propeller, if it's not folding, then it's going to be turning all the time, while the plane is gliding, and that's not good for a glider. That's not helpful at all. You don't want that. You know, having a propeller windmilling like that, it creates drag, so the plane doesn't glide so well, and vibration. It's just not a helpful thing at all. So it's very nice to have the folding propeller, and so far, touch wood, I have had no problems with the folding propeller on this one. I've got the bigger glider as well, you know, the Radian Extra Large, and that's a great glider as well. The problem is, though, I have to take it to bits to fit it in my car, inevitably, because it's got like an 8-foot wingspan. So there's a fair bit of assembly and mucking around involved with it. So this guy gets more airtime because I can just toss this guy in the car. And my car's small, as you've seen, but this guy is fine. I can just toss him in the car, no need to disassemble anything. He's almost going backwards there. The wind's stronger up there than on the ground. So I'm gliding him, and I think he is actually going backwards, isn't he? Well, maybe it's just because he's descending, but he's moving backwards against the clouds. He's not moving forwards much, for sure. He's more or less descending in place because he's heading into the wind and the wind's getting up a bit. And so, you know, I think he is actually almost maybe moving away from me. Not a big problem. I can always just put his nose down if I want him to come forward. But I'm not putting his nose down at the moment because I'm trying to keep him up. But if he drifts too far away, I'll put the nose down a bit. Well, of course, I could always turn the motor on. But, I mean, no, it shouldn't be necessary. Yeah, he's pretty much almost exactly descending in place, I think. He's more or less staying over the same place and just generally, gradually descending as he glides into the airstream, but the airstream's, you know, he's gliding at pretty much the same rate the wind's blowing. So he's pretty much staying in the same place. I could keep him up for longer for sure, but I think I'm going to bring him in to land after this one. No undercarriage, but the propeller, you know, so the propeller's folded and whatever, you just skid him down on the grass, he's fine. On grass, I wouldn't want to be skidding him down on gravel or asphalt or whatever. That would be a bit hard. You really want a grass field for this guy because you don't want to be belly landing him on something that's going to scrape him. But on the grass he's fine. I mean, I think people put fiberglass tape and things on the bottom sometimes if they are landing somewhere where, you know, he is moving forward a bit now. I guess the wind's decreasing a little bit. It's actually kind of handy when he stays put. Yeah, I've never bothered to reinforce the bottom because on the grass he's fine. He's not going to damage himself landing on this nice, you know, soft, wet grass and whatever. So it's really not necessary to add any extra. He has got some plastic on the bottom a bit to protect the foam. Bugs attacking me again. It's one downside of coming out. I put bug repellent on. I sprayed myself copiously with bug repellent when I first arrived and saw how many bugs there were around, but I don't know. I don't think the bug repellents have read the label. The bugs have read the label on the bug repellent. They don't seem to pay all that much attention to it. Hobbyzone Conscendo, the original version. A very nice plane, I find. But, you know, I mean, it's all a question of what you like. I mean, it would bore some people to death, and I guess that's why they came out with a more exciting version. Okay, we're going to deliberately bring him down now. We should be able to land him. There you go. Oh, get down. Want to get him down before we run out of runway.
Throttle cut on.
But, you know, he's a very nice little plane. What we're doing here, hitting switches we're not meaning to. Oh, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing there, really. What?
Throttle cut off. Throttle cut on.
Always a good idea to make sure you got throttle cut on before you pick the plane up, I find. Although a few of those little hobby grade things don't have, most of them actually. Those little tiny little hobby grade things don't generally have a throttle cut on their transmitters because they're so small you probably wouldn't hurt yourself much with the propellers on them anyway, but still. I always program a throttle cut even with the smallest planes on when I'm programming them on my own transmitter. It's just nice to have. I miss it when I don't have it. I always go to do it and realise, oh, there isn't one. Okay, there you go. The Hobbyzone Horizon Hobby Conscendo again.